The trailer for our video script about biodiversity governance policies and strategies for effective conservation is designed to inspire and motivate people around the world to come together and take action to protect our planet's biodiversity. The trailer opens with stunning images of the world's natural wonders, lush forests, crystal clear waters, and vibrant ecosystems, and evokes a sense of wonder and awe at the incredible diversity of life on Earth. But this sense of awe is quickly tempered by the realization that this precious biodiversity is under threat from climate change, habitat destruction, pollution, and more. The trailer then goes on to explore the many challenges facing our planet's biodiversity, including the need for better governance policies and strategies that can help to conserve and protect these fragile ecosystems. We hear from leading experts in the field of conservation who discuss the latest research and best practices for effective biodiversity governance, including the importance of community engagement and collaboration, the need for stronger legal frameworks and enforcement mechanisms, and the role of technology and innovation in driving positive change. Throughout the trailer, we see images of people from all walks of life coming together to make a difference, from local communities working to restore damaged ecosystems to policymakers and business leaders committed to creating a more sustainable future for all. The trailer ends on a hopeful note, with a call to action for viewers to join us in our mission to safeguard the world's biodiversity and create a brighter future for generations to come. Biodiversity loss is a looming threat to the planet, and tackling this issue requires effective governance policies and strategies. According to the Global Assessment Report on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, around 1 million plant and animal species are threatened with extinction. This calls for immediate action from policymakers, governments, and other stakeholders to preserve biodiversity. Effective biodiversity governance policies should focus on a broad range of issues from habitat conservation to promoting sustainable agriculture and managing the impacts of climate change. In 2010, the Convention on Biological Diversity, an international treaty, launched the Strategic Plan for Biodiversity, which aims to halt biodiversity loss and restore ecosystems by 2020. Despite progress, the report also states that this target has not been met. This highlights the need for more effective policies and strategies to protect biodiversity. One key issue addressed by governance policies is the protection of biodiversity hotspots, which are areas with the highest levels of biodiversity. The 36 global biodiversity hotspots, which cover just 2.4% of the Earth's land surface, contain more than half of the world's plant species and almost a third of amphibian, bird, mammal, and reptile species. This demonstrates the importance of preserving these regions for global biodiversity conservation. In addition to policies, effective conservation strategies are equally important in safeguarding biodiversity. One such strategy is protected areas, such as national parks, wildlife reserves, and nature reserves, which provide safe habitats for endangered species. The World Database on Protected Areas reports that there are over 200,000 protected areas worldwide, covering 16 of the Earth's land and 7 of the oceans. This highlights the potential for protected areas to be instrumental in conserving global biodiversity. Another important conservation strategy is the promotion of sustainable agriculture. This includes measures such as reducing the use of pesticides, promoting agroforestry, and investing in research to develop more sustainable farming practices. Sustainable agriculture is essential to ensure that the production of food and fiber does not further jeopardize biodiversity conservation. Finally, managing the impact of climate change is vital for biodiversity conservation. Climate change affects biodiversity in several ways, from altering ecosystems to increasing the spread of invasive species. Climate change policies and strategies should focus on reducing greenhouse gas emissions, increasing renewable energy, and promoting adaptation measures to mitigate its impact on biodiversity. In conclusion, biodiversity governance policies and conservation strategies are critical for protecting the planet's biodiversity. Statistics show that current efforts are not enough, and more comprehensive strategies are needed to halt biodiversity loss and preserve ecosystems. Protecting biodiversity hotspots, promoting sustainable agriculture, developing protected areas, and managing the impact of climate change are essential measures that can help achieve this goal. In conclusion, biodiversity governance policies and strategies are vital for the successful conservation of the planet's biodiversity. It is crucial for governments, NGOs, and stakeholders to work collaboratively to develop and implement strategies to protect and conserve biodiversity. These approaches must include a variety of conservation tools, such as designating protected areas, enforcing laws, and raising public awareness. Effective conservation requires a holistic and integrated approach, which considers the social, cultural, and economic factors that drive biodiversity loss. Furthermore, it is necessary to involve local communities and indigenous peoples in conservation initiatives, as they possess valuable knowledge and traditional practices that support biodiversity conservation. Finally, funding conservation efforts is vital, and governments must prioritize it in their budgets and leverage financial resources from multiple sources. Protecting biodiversity is critical for the survival of all life on Earth, and safeguarding it should be our collective responsibility. Through effective governance policies and strategies, we can safeguard.
As the world continues to face environmental challenges, there is a growing recognition of the vital role that biodiversity plays in maintaining the Earth's ecosystems and sustaining life on our planet. However, too often, decision-makers fail to take this into account, leading to short-sighted choices that erode natural resources and lead to long-term socio-economic consequences. This is where natural capital comes in. By recognizing the value of biodiversity and ecosystem services, we can transform how we think about development and decision-making. Our upcoming video explores the concept of natural capital, highlighting the ways in which it is revolutionizing how we measure and value our natural resources. From the Amazon rainforest to urban parks, we showcased examples of how natural capital is being applied to real-world situations, helping to promote sustainable development and economic growth that prioritizes the well-being of both people and the planet. Join us as we uncover the power of recognizing the value of biodiversity in decision-making, and how it can help build a more resilient and sustainable future for all. Natural capital is the sum total of the many environmental resources that support human life and economies. Biodiversity is a critical component of this. It is the web of life that connects all living species, including humans, and allows us to thrive on this planet. Despite this, biodiversity is often overlooked in decision-making, and we are now facing a biodiversity crisis. According to the UN, 1 million species are at risk of extinction due to human activities, including habitat destruction, overfishing, and pollution. The loss of biodiversity has significant economic consequences as well. For instance, the decline in pollinator populations, such as bees, could lead to a decrease in crop yields. It is vital that we recognize the value of biodiversity, not just from an ecological perspective but also from an economic one. In fact, studies show that protecting biodiversity can lead to economic benefits. For example, the Great Barrier Reef generates an estimated $6.4 billion in economic activity for Australia annually. On the other hand, the prospect of losing the reef due to climate change could result in economic losses of around $1 trillion by 2100. This highlights that protecting biodiversity is not just a moral obligation but also an economic necessity. By recognizing the value of natural capital and taking biodiversity into account in decision-making, we can ensure a sustainable and prosperous future for ourselves and future generations. In conclusion, it is crucial to incorporate the value of biodiversity into decision-making processes to ensure sustainable development. We need to recognize the importance of natural capital and its contribution to human well-being. It is time to move from focusing on economic growth alone to considering the long-term impacts of our actions on the environment. Governments, businesses, and individuals all have a role to play in protecting biodiversity and preserving natural resources. We must invest in conservation efforts and prioritize sustainable practices in all industries. By valuing natural capital, we can achieve a healthier planet and a more equitable society for generations to come.
In conservation, it is not all doom and gloom. Although many species are threatened with extinction, there are inspiring success stories of species recovery that bring hope. This video will showcase some of the most amazing examples of species recovery success, highlighting the efforts of conservationists and the perseverance of threatened species in returning from the brink of extinction. From the majestic tiger in India, whose population has increased by 30 in a decade, to the colorful orange-bellied parrot in Australia, brought back from near extinction through captive breeding programs and habitat protection. We will explore the incredible success of the black-footed ferret, which was thought to be extinct, but is now back from just 18 individuals to over 300 in the wild. Marine conservation success stories will also be featured, such as the recovery of the humpback whale. After being hunted nearly to the brink of extinction in the 20th century, the humpback whale population has now grown to over 80,000 individuals globally. Each success story highlights the power of conservation and reminds us that together, we can make a significant impact in protecting and preserving biodiversity. In recent years, species recovery success stories have been gaining momentum in the field of biodiversity conservation. According to statistics from the International Union for Conservation of Nature, IUCN, as of 2020, there are 48 species that have been delisted or downlisted from their status as threatened or endangered. This is a clear indication of the effectiveness of conservation efforts aimed at protecting these species. Take the case of the black-footed ferret, which was once thought to be extinct, with only 18 individuals left in the wild. Thanks to intensive captive breeding and reintroduction programs, their population has grown to over 1,000 individuals in the wild. Another success story is that of the Mauritius kestrel, which was downlisted from endangered to vulnerable, thanks to successful captive breeding and habitat restoration. There are also success stories in marine conservation, with the humpback whale population increasing by 40 since the International Whaling Commission imposed a ban on commercial whaling in 1986. These success stories serve as beacons of hope that species can be brought back from the brink of extinction, and that our conservation efforts can have positive outcomes. In conclusion, the success stories of species recovery and biodiversity conservation give us hope for the future. These efforts prove that with proper planning, funding, and dedication, we can bring back endangered and even extinct species from the brink of destruction.
The natural world is a vast and complex ecosystem that has countless species living within it. But despite our fascination with wildlife, some of the creatures that share our planet are often overlooked and forgotten. The Forgotten Species is a new video series that seeks to shed light on the often neglected members of the animal kingdom and highlight their fascinating and unique traits. From tiny invertebrates to rare and elusive mammals, each episode focuses on a particular forgotten species, delving into their biology, behavior, and habitat. With a mix of stunning footage, expert interviews, and compelling stories, the series aims to inspire a greater appreciation for the diversity of life on Earth. As we explore the wonders of the natural world, it's important to remember that every species, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, plays a vital role in the delicate balance of ecosystems. By shining a spotlight on these forgotten creatures, we hope to raise awareness about their conservation needs and inspire viewers to take action to protect them. Join us on a journey of discovery as we uncover the fascinating world of forgotten species and celebrate the incredible biodiversity that surrounds us. Biodiversity is more than just a buzzword. It's a crucial component of our planet's ecosystem, and it's currently under threat. According to recent statistics, put out by the World Wildlife Fund, over 10,000 species go extinct every year. It's a sobering thought, and while we might be familiar with the plight of animals such as the gorilla or the panda, there are countless other species that go forgotten. For example, there are over 10,000 species of birds in the world, and yet the vast majority are seldom talked about. Similarly, there are over 400,000 species of beetles, but we only tend to hear about the more charismatic insects like the butterfly or the ladybird. By spotlighting overlooked biodiversity, we can create a greater appreciation of the natural world and work towards protecting more of it. After all, Every species plays a vital role in maintaining a balance within our ecosystem, even if it's not on the cover of National Geographic. As we conclude this journey through the forgotten species, it's clear that biodiversity is more complex and diverse than what we could ever imagine. There are countless species, many of which have yet to be discovered and understood. The animals and plants highlighted in this video highlight the importance of every species to the interconnected web of life. They remind us that each living creature has a unique role and contributes to the balance of our planet's ecosystem. It's time for us to take action and protect these overlooked species before it's too late. It's crucial that we continue to support conservation efforts and make more informed choices about our impact on the environment. Together we can raise awareness, inspire others to take action, and work towards a more sustainable future. So let's remember these forgotten species, and appreciate the beauty and diversity that nature has to offer.
As the world's population continues to grow and cities become more crowded, noise pollution has become a significant problem for many species. Noise pollution is the exposure to sounds that are harmful to the health and well-being of wildlife, often caused by human activities such as transportation, industrial activities, and construction. In the natural world, sound plays a crucial role in communication, mating, and foraging, leading to disastrous effects on many species who cannot adapt to life with noise pollution. The Sound of Silence is a video that explores how sound can affect biodiversity and how cutting-edge technology is being used to protect vulnerable species in noisy environments. The video highlights the innovative approaches used by researchers and conservationists to mitigate the harmful effects of noise pollution on sensitive wildlife, including the creation of synthetic sounds that mimic the natural sounds of nature to reduce the impact of man-made noise pollution. By showcasing how we are learning to protect biodiversity in noise-polluted environments, this video demonstrates how we can all take steps to preserve the natural world and ensure that future generations have the opportunity to experience it in all its glory. In today's world, urbanization and industrialization have caused tremendous amounts of noise pollution. Humans, animals, and ecosystems alike are experiencing adverse impacts from this noise pollution. Statistics reveal that nearly 83% of protected areas in the United States are exposed to unnatural levels of noise. This means that many wildlife habitats are facing the consequences of sound pollution without any respite. Even small noises can have a significant impact on biodiversity. For instance, studies have shown that birds nesting near loud transport routes produce fewer offspring than their counterparts in quieter areas. Additionally, mammals such as bats rely on their ultra-sensitive hearing to navigate and find food, but anthropogenic noise masks their ability to use sound waves, making it more challenging for them to survive. All this noise pollution adds up to a quieter world and a greater threat to our planet's biodiversity. Protecting our silent environments is essential to stop the ongoing decimation of species and ecosystems. We need to recognize the value of quietness and take action to protect it. We must implement noise-reducing measures in our homes, buildings, and transport systems. By doing so, we can preserve silent spaces that are essential to the well-being of humans and biodiversity alike. In conclusion, the sound of silence is crucial for protecting biodiversity in noise-polluted environments. By reducing noise pollution and preserving quiet areas, we can help conserve the habitats of many species and prevent their extinction. Individuals can take steps to reduce noise pollution in their own lives, such as using quieter equipment or choosing more eco-friendly transportation options. Governments can also implement policies and regulations to reduce noise pollution and protect natural soundscapes. It is important to remember that even small changes can make a big difference in preserving the delicate balance of ecosystems. By working together to reduce noise pollution and protect natural environments, we can ensure that the sound of silence remains a key component of our planet's biodiversity for years to come. Let's listen to the sounds of nature and
As our cities continue to grow and expand, the importance of urban biodiversity becomes ever more apparent. In our modern world, It's essential that we take steps to enhance nature in our cities to provide vital habitats for a diverse array of species, improve air quality, and increase biodiversity. This is where urban biodiversity comes into play. In this groundbreaking video, we explore the importance of urban biodiversity and learn about the many ways we can enhance nature in our cities. We highlight the world's most innovative and successful urban biodiversity projects and show how cities around the globe are transforming beyond concrete jungles into natural, thriving environments. From green roofs to urban forests, community gardens to sustainable transportation, our team of experts and thought leaders will take you on a journey of discovery, spotlighting the successes and challenges of creating a diverse and resilient urban ecosystem. Join us as we navigate cutting-edge ideas and explore the endless possibilities for nurturing our city's natural habitats. Together, we can create a better future for ourselves, the species we share our world with, and the planet as a whole. As our cities continue to grow and expand, it's becoming increasingly important to prioritize urban biodiversity. Did you know that over 50% of the world's population now lives in cities? And as urbanization rates continue to rise, so too does the impact on our natural environments. In fact, urbanization is one of the leading causes of biodiversity loss worldwide. But there's hope. By proactively enhancing nature in cities, we can create healthier, more vibrant communities that benefit both people and wildlife. Research shows that urban green spaces, such as parks and gardens, can increase biodiversity by providing habitat for plants and animals. And by including native plants in urban landscapes, we can help support local ecosystems and protect against invasive species. It's not just about protecting wildlife, either. Urban green spaces have been shown to improve air and water quality, reduce heat island effects, and promote mental health and well-being for city residents. So, next time you're out exploring your city, take note of the natural spaces around you and consider ways to enhance urban biodiversity in your community. In conclusion, urban biodiversity is crucial for maintaining a healthy and sustainable environment in cities. From preserving green spaces to creating wildlife corridors and incorporating green infrastructure into building designs, there are various ways to enhance nature in urban areas. By taking small steps like planting more trees or starting a community garden, we can all contribute to promoting biodiversity in our neighborhoods. It is also important to prioritize and support the initiatives that city governments and organizations are undertaking to protect and restore natural habitats in urban areas. By valuing and protecting biodiversity, we can ensure that our cities remain livable, resilient, and beautiful places to live in. Ultimately, by including nature in the design and planning of cities, we can create a healthier and more. The world's wildlife is under an alarming threat like it has never been before. The illegal trade in wildlife is worth billions of dollars. Thousands of elephants, rhinoceroses, tigers, pangolins, and other species have been poached and trafficked each year. It severely threatens biodiversity and stability in many vulnerable regions and undermining local communities' prosperity, security, and wildlife ecosystems. This nefarious trade leaves devastating footprints on our planet and robs us of our natural heritage. In this new world order, the fight to save our planet from extinction has never been more urgent. This video will explore the severe consequences of wildlife trafficking on the environment and for biodiversity. It will outline the challenges and main drivers of illegal trade and its impact on the economy and society. From poaching to trafficking, this video will illustrate how the trade in wildlife products has a knock-on effect on communities and ecosystems worldwide. Furthermore, this video will examine the latest strategies and technologies being employed to combat the illegal trade. We will explore how governments, law enforcement, and conservationists are working hand in hand to address this crisis. Through inspiring stories of individuals and organizations who have dedicated their lives to stopping wildlife crime, this video will shine a light on the hope and determination required to combat this illegal trade and preserve our planet's rich and diverse habitats and species. Wildlife trafficking is a global issue that involves the illegal trade of millions of animals and plants every year, contributing to the decline of biodiversity. According to the World Wildlife Fund, the illegal wildlife trade generates an estimated $7 to $23 billion annually, making it one of the largest criminal trades in the world. Additionally, approximately 1 in 4 species of mammal is at risk of extinction due to illegal activities such as poaching, trafficking, and habitat destruction. Combating this illegal trade is crucial for the protection and preservation of biodiversity. Conservation organizations and authorities have implemented various strategies to address the problem, including increased law enforcement efforts, community engagement, and demand reduction campaigns. Despite these efforts, however, the illegal wildlife trade continues to thrive, with endangered species such as elephants, rhinoceroses, and pangolins being targeted for their ivory, horns, and scales. In addition to threatening the survival of animal species, the illegal wildlife trade also poses a significant threat to human health and well-being. For example, the trafficking of bush meat, or wild animal meat, has been linked to the spread of diseases such as Ebola, SARS, and COVID-19. The depletion of natural resources also has significant economic impacts, including loss of income for local communities that depend on wildlife for tourism or subsistence. To address these issues, it is essential that governments, organizations, and individuals work together to address the root causes of wildlife trafficking. This includes addressing the demand for wildlife products, strengthening law enforcement efforts, and promoting sustainable and responsible tourism practices. As consumers, we also have a role to play in combating the illegal wildlife trade by making informed choices and choosing products that do not harm biodiversity. In the end, it is up to all of us to protect and preserve the world's precious biodiversity. By working together and taking action, we can help combat the illegal wildlife trade and safeguard the Earth's natural heritage for future generations. In conclusion, wildlife trafficking, the illicit trade of flora and fauna, poses a significant threat to global biodiversity, and urgent measures must be taken to combat it. This illegal trade fuels criminal networks and organized crime, undermines the rule of law, and threatens the livelihoods of millions of people who depend on healthy ecosystems. It is crucial for law enforcement agencies, governments, civil society, and individual citizens to work together to identify, disrupt and dismantle the illegal supply chains that enable wildlife trafficking to occur. This includes targeting the demand for illegal wildlife products, strengthening anti-trafficking laws and regulations, and enhancing efforts to monitor and protect endangered species. Building partnerships with local communities and funding sustainable alternatives to wildlife trade can also play a vital role in reducing the demand for illegal wildlife products. Ultimately, protecting biodiversity and combating wildlife trafficking is not only a legal and ethical imperative but essential for securing the future of our planet. We must act now to
As urbanization continues to grow, our cities are becoming less hospitable for wildlife. However, biodiversity and green infrastructure can help create nature-friendly cities, improving the health and well-being of both humans and the environment. This video will take an in-depth look at how green infrastructure can help promote biodiversity in urban areas. From green roofs to urban forests, there are many ways to integrate nature into our cities. We'll also explore the benefits of these initiatives, such as improving air and water quality, reducing heat island effects, and providing recreational opportunities for residents. Additionally, the video will highlight successful biodiversity projects from around the world, showcasing best practices for creating nature-friendly cities. We'll hear from experts in the field, including urban planners and environmentalists, who will share their insights on how to foster sustainable urban development. Join us in discovering how biodiversity and green infrastructure can lead to healthier, more vibrant cities that benefit both people and nature. Let's work towards creating a more sustainable future for all. Biodiversity and green infrastructure play crucial roles in creating nature-friendly cities that are both sustainable and livable. With the world witnessing unprecedented urbanization, the application of these concepts has become even more urgent. According to a report by the United Nations, over 55% of the global population currently lives in urban areas, and this figure is projected to rise to 68% by 2050. Furthermore, cities account for 60 to 80% of all energy consumption and 75% of global carbon emissions, which has significant implications for the environment and future generations. Therefore, it is imperative that cities adopt nature-based solutions in their planning and development strategies to create more resilient and sustainable urban environments. Biodiversity, or the variety of living organisms in an ecosystem, is key to the functioning of natural systems and the provision of ecosystem services such as clean air, water, and food. However, urban development and infrastructure projects have led to the loss of national habitats and a decline in biodiversity. A report by the World Wildlife Fund found that global wildlife populations have declined by 60 in the last 40 years, mostly due to habitat loss and degradation. This loss of biodiversity not only impacts the health of the planet but also has economic consequences. For instance, pollination services provided by insects are worth an estimated $235 to $577 billion globally each year, and the loss of these services due to declining bee populations could result in significant economic losses. Green infrastructure, on the other hand, refers to the network of natural and semi-natural elements such as parks, green roofs, wetlands, and street trees integrated into the urban fabric to provide ecosystem services and enhance biodiversity. The benefits of green infrastructure are numerous and include reduced heat island effects, improved air and water quality, increased resilience to climate change, and enhanced biodiversity. One study found that urban trees alone provide an estimated $500 million in benefits annually in the United States, while wetlands can provide up to $23,000 per hectare in flood protection services. Despite the numerous benefits of green infrastructure, many cities still lack adequate green spaces and nature-based solutions in their planning and development strategies. For instance, a report by the Nature Conservancy found that only 12 of the world's urban population live in cities that meet the organization's green infrastructure criteria. Lack of political will, funding, and public awareness are some of the barriers to the adoption of nature-based solutions in cities. However, the benefits of green infrastructure and biodiversity are increasingly being recognized by policymakers and urban planners, and there is growing momentum to promote their integration into urban landscapes. In conclusion, the adoption of biodiversity and green infrastructure in the planning and development of cities is crucial for creating nature-friendly and sustainable urban environments. The benefits of these concepts go beyond environmental concerns and have significant economic and social implications for current and future generations. As the world continues to urbanize, it is essential that we prioritize the integration of nature-based solutions in our urban landscapes to ensure that we build resilient and livable cities for all. In conclusion, biodiversity is an essential component in building sustainable and livable cities. By implementing green infrastructure, cities can create a network of interconnected green spaces and improve the quality of life for both humans and wildlife. Through the incorporation of nature-friendly designs, cities can reduce the impacts of climate change and provide a healthier and more resilient environment for all residents. In addition, it is crucial to involve and educate the community about the importance of protecting biodiversity and green infrastructure. Encouraging individuals to take action to preserve nature and advocating for policies that support these efforts can have a significant impact in creating the cities of the future. Ultimately, the success of creating nature-friendly cities lies in the collaboration and dedication of
Biodiversity and sustainable tourism are vital components for the promotion of responsible travel. In today's world, where global tourism is rapidly expanding, it's more important than ever to implement policies and practices that support the conservation of natural habitats and protect the biodiversity of our planet. This International Tourism Day we are proud to present our latest video script that highlights the importance of responsible tourism. Our script seeks to educate viewers on the importance of biodiversity, its preservation and its relationship with the tourism industry. The script also encourages tourists to engage in sustainable tourism practices that promote the conservation of biodiversity. We emphasize the fact that responsible travel not only has a positive impact on the environment and local communities, but it also enhances the tourist experience. The video script showcases breathtaking landscapes and unique wildlife that can be found in eco-friendly destinations. At the forefront of the script is the message that everyone can make a difference in promoting responsible travel and protecting biodiversity. The script will inspire tourists to engage in activities that have minimal negative impact on the environment and encourage them to support businesses and destinations that prioritize sustainability. Biodiversity is fundamental for life on Earth. Despite this, it is facing severe challenges. According to the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, 1 million species are at risk of extinction. A significant driver of biodiversity loss is unsustainable tourism. The World Tourism Organization found that tourism contributes to 5% of global greenhouse gas emissions, and it is projected to increase by up to 150% by 2050. This statistic highlights the need for sustainable tourism that promotes responsible travel. Sustainable tourism is essential for the conservation of biodiversity. It refers to tourism that respects the natural environment and local culture while generating economic and social benefits for communities. It promotes responsible travel practices such as reducing waste, conserving energy, and using eco-friendly transportation. Sustainable tourism can also support conservation efforts by generating revenue streams for protected areas and providing alternative livelihoods for local communities. One example of responsible travel is ecotourism. This type of tourism promotes sustainable practices while encouraging travelers to engage with nature and local cultures. Ecotourism can also create economic opportunities for local communities, reducing their reliance on activities that harm biodiversity. Promoting sustainable tourism can also have positive economic impacts. The tourism industry accounts for 1 in 10 jobs globally, and sustainable tourism can increase the economic benefits of tourism while protecting biodiversity. A report by the United Nations Environment Programme found that investing in sustainable tourism can create jobs, reduce poverty, and promote economic growth while protecting biodiversity. While sustainable tourism has potential benefits for biodiversity and local economies, it requires a collective effort. Governments, businesses, and travelers all play critical roles in promoting responsible travel practices. Governments can create policies that support sustainable tourism, such as regulations on waste management and transport emissions. Businesses can adopt sustainable practices, such as using renewable energy and reducing plastic waste. Travelers can choose eco-friendly accommodations, reduce their carbon footprint, and leave no trace when exploring nature. In conclusion, promoting sustainable tourism is crucial for protecting biodiversity and promoting responsible travel practices. The tourism industry has a significant impact on biodiversity, but it also has the potential to support conservation efforts while generating economic and social benefits. Governments, businesses, and travelers must come together to create a sustainable tourism industry that protects biodiversity and promotes responsible travel practices. In promoting responsible travel and sustainable tourism, biodiversity plays a crucial role. By creating awareness and valuing the conservation of biodiversity and ecosystems, responsible travel ensures that tourism benefits both the local communities and natural habitats.
The world's ecosystems are delicate and constantly evolving, and the loss of biodiversity is a growing concern for experts around the globe. Climate change, habitat destruction, and other human activities are threatening many species with extinction. In order to save our planet's unique wildlife and preserve the balance of nature, we must adapt our conservation strategies to keep up with these changes. This video explores the innovative ways in which scientists, conservationists, and policymakers are working to protect biodiversity in a changing world. From developing new technologies to tracking biodiversity hotspots, to engaging local communities in conservation efforts, the film highlights the latest and most effective strategies for safeguarding our planet's precious natural heritage. Featuring interviews with leading experts in the field, stunning footage of wildlife and ecosystems around the world, and insights into the latest research in conservation initiatives, this video is an essential resource for anyone interested in the future of biodiversity conservation. Join us on a journey through the incredible diversity of life on Earth, and discover how we can work together to ensure its survival for generations to come. In a rapidly changing world, biodiversity conservation has become a crucial concern for the sustainability of our planet. According to recent statistics, about 1 million animal and plant species are currently at risk of extinction due to habitat loss, climate change, and human activities. Therefore, It is essential to adapt conservation strategies to address the challenges of the future. One approach to biodiversity conservation is the establishment of protected areas. As of 2021, there are over 200,000 protected areas worldwide, covering around 15% of the Earth's land surface. However, these areas face constant threats, such as illegal hunting and logging, invasive species, and climate change. To tackle these challenges, various conservation organizations are working on improving the governance and management of protected areas. Another effective strategy is to promote sustainable land use and reduce the ecological footprint of human activities. With increasing human population and consumption, our footprint on the Earth's natural systems has become unsustainable. Therefore, we need to rethink our resource use and adopt more sustainable practices, such as agroforestry, sustainable fishing, and ecotourism. Moreover, conservation efforts need to include the engagement and participation of local communities and indigenous peoples. These communities have valuable traditional knowledge and practices that can contribute to conservation and biodiversity protection. For instance, participatory natural resource management can involve local communities in decision-making and benefit sharing, promoting conservation and sustainable livelihoods. Finally, conserving biodiversity in a changing world requires innovation and collaboration across different sectors and disciplines. Scientists, policymakers, conservationists, and communities need to work together to develop and implement adaptive strategies that can respond to the changing conditions and uncertainties of our future. In conclusion, biodiversity conservation is a pressing global issue that requires urgent attention and action. We must adapt our strategies to the challenges of the future, by protecting natural areas, promoting sustainable practices, engaging local communities, and fostering collaboration and innovation. Only by working together, we can safeguard the rich diversity of life on our planet and create a more sustainable future. In conclusion, it is indisputable that climate change and habitat destruction are rapidly impacting the planet's biodiversity. However, there is still hope that we can find innovative and effective ways to conserve the Earth's precious ecosystems. By looking towards new technologies, working with local communities, and engaging policymakers, we can create holistic strategies that address underlying issues and strengthen the resilience of biodiversity. At the heart of biodiversity conservation is a commitment to understanding, protecting, and restoring the natural world. We must acknowledge that we are part of a larger ecosystem and that our actions have far-reaching consequences. By taking an integrated approach to conservation that brings stakeholders together, we can adapt to the challenges of a changing world and build a sustainable future for ourselves and the planet. It is up to each of us to do our part in ensuring the longevity of life on Earth. By recognizing the value of biodiversity, and working together, Biodiversity Finance Mobilizing Resources for Conservation is a powerful new video that shines a light on the critical importance of preserving and protecting the world's natural resources. With stunning footage and expert interviews, this film captures the urgency of this issue and showcases the innovative strategies being developed to mobilize financial resources for conservation efforts. At the heart of this issue is the need to balance economic development with environmental stability. As the world's population continues to grow, so does the demand for natural resources. The result is a loss of biodiversity that threatens the very fabric of our ecosystem. But there are solutions. This video takes a close look at the innovative financing models that are being used to support conservation efforts around the world. From ecotourism to carbon credits, these strategies are making it possible to save endangered species and protect critical habitats. But conservation is not just about saving wildlife. It is also about safeguarding the livelihoods of millions of people around the world. The film highlights the role that local communities play in conservation, and the ways in which they are being empowered to take an active role in protecting their own natural resources. With engaging visuals and expert insights, this video is a powerful call to action for anyone who cares about the future of our planet and wants to help preserve our natural heritage for generations to come. Biodiversity is crucial to the preservation of life on Earth, yet our planet is facing an alarming loss of species. According to the World Wildlife Fund, We are losing up to 10,000 times the natural rate due to human activity. This loss of biodiversity threatens not only our ecological systems but also our economies, as it impacts sectors such as tourism, fisheries, and agriculture. Despite this, financing for conservation remains minimal, accounting for only 2% of global climate finance. Mobilizing resources for conservation is vital to saving biodiversity. One approach is through biodiversity finance, which aims to unlock public and private funding to support biodiversity conservation. Through innovative financial mechanisms such as biodiversity offsets, payments for ecosystem services, and green bonds, we can incentivize efforts to conserve and restore biodiversity. In addition to traditional funding sources, such as government grants and philanthropy, biodiversity finance can leverage private sector investments. A study by the Business and Biodiversity Offsets program found that there are over 150 companies registered to participate in biodiversity offsets, making it a promising area for private sector engagement. There is also potential for biodiversity finance to address social and environmental justice issues. By ensuring that conservation efforts benefit local communities and indigenous peoples, we can address historical injustices that have often excluded marginalized groups from decision-making processes. Furthermore, biodiversity finance can support the protection of cultural heritage and promote sustainable tourism, providing economic benefits for local communities. Despite the potential of biodiversity finance, challenges remain. There is a lack of data and information on the state of biodiversity and its value, making it difficult to quantify the impact of conservation efforts. Additionally, there is a need for greater coordination among stakeholders, including governments, businesses, and civil society. In conclusion, mobilizing resources for conservation through biodiversity finance is crucial in the fight against biodiversity loss. With inventive financial mechanisms that incentivize conservation efforts and the potential for private sector engagement, biodiversity finance presents a promising approach to conserve and restore our planet's natural resources. By addressing social and environmental justice issues and promoting sustainable economic development, biodiversity finance has the potential to unlock our planet's full potential. In conclusion, biodiversity financing is essential if we want to conserve the world's rich diversity of plants and animals. The need to mobilize resources for effective conservation practices has never been more pressing than it is today. It is our responsibility to ensure that future generations can also enjoy and benefit from our planet's biodiversity. The good news is that many initiatives, policies, and programs are already in place to address the issue of biodiversity financing. Despite the challenges, governments, organizations, and individuals are working collaboratively to raise awareness and create practical solutions. To succeed in our conservation efforts, it is vital to incorporate innovative financing mechanisms that can drive sustainable funding for biodiversity projects. Private sector engagement, traditional funding sources, and innovative financing solutions such as debt for nature swaps, payments for ecosystem services, and biodiversity offsets are all viable options that can sustainably fund conservation. In conclusion, mobilizing resources for conservation is not just a moral obligation, it is also an economic necessity. Investing in biodiversity will yield long-term
Biodiversity offsetting is a concept that is rapidly gaining recognition as an essential tool in balancing the needs of development and conservation. The trailer for this video script explores the significance of this concept, its implementation, and the challenges that come with it. Featuring interviews with industry experts and thought leaders in biodiversity management, the trailer takes an in-depth look at the various aspects of biodiversity offsetting. The audience gets to learn about how it works and its role in mitigating the loss of biodiversity resulting from development actions. The trailer showcases various case studies, including forestry, mining, and land development. Through these case studies, the audience gets to understand the steps taken to implement biodiversity offsetting and the benefits it has brought to local ecosystems. The trailer also highlights the issues that surround biodiversity offsetting and the challenges that must be overcome. These challenges include monitoring and evaluation, data collection, and enforcement. The trailer provides a comprehensive analysis of the steps necessary for effective monitoring and evaluation. Overall, this trailer offers audiences an insight into the significance of biodiversity offsetting in the 21st century. It presents the concept as an important means of balancing development and conservation and ensuring a sustainable future for our planet. Biodiversity offsets are a mechanism that allows developers to balance the impact of their activities on the environment by investing in conservation projects. It is a tool that has gained significant traction in recent years as the human population continues to grow, and development becomes increasingly necessary. However, we cannot ignore the fact that such activities have a detrimental effect on biodiversity. According to statistics, more than 80 of threatened species are impacted by human activities, and the loss of biodiversity can result in significant ecological and economic consequences. Biodiversity offsets have become an essential consideration for those involved in development activities. Such measures have been designed to compensate for the loss of biodiversity resulting from human activities. In the United States alone, over 400 conservation banks have been established, and over 10,000 offsets have been registered. The European Union has also implemented directives requiring member states to implement measures to protect and conserve biodiversity by compensating for any losses that occur as a result of development activities. The concept of biodiversity offsets has been met with mixed reactions from stakeholders. Some argue that such measures do not fully compensate for the loss of biodiversity and only serve as a way for developers to continue their activities without any adverse consequences. However, proponents of biodiversity offsets believe that it is a necessary tool to balance the needs of development and conservation. This is especially true in developing countries where economic growth is essential to alleviate poverty and promote development. As we continue to rely on development activities to meet the growing demands of our population, we must acknowledge the importance of conserving our biodiversity. The loss of biodiversity can have significant impacts on our health, economy, and overall well-being. According to the World Economic Forum, biodiversity loss is one of the top 5 risks for global stability in the next 10 years. And if we do not take action now, we may face catastrophic consequences in the future. In conclusion, biodiversity offsets are an important tool for balancing the impact of development on biodiversity. While the concept has its critics, statistics show that it is gaining popularity around the world, and some countries have mandated its implementation. The importance of biodiversity cannot be overstated, and we must continue to find ways to conserve and protect it for future generations. It is crucial to continue discussions and collaboration between stakeholders to ensure that development and conservation can be achieved in harmony. In conclusion, biodiversity offsets can play a crucial role in balancing the development and conservation needs of a region. Done correctly, they can ensure that economic growth and sustainable development do not come at the cost of our natural resources and the wildlife that depend on them. The key, however, is to prioritize the conservation of biodiversity and not to view offsets as a shortcut to achieving economic gains. There must be transparency and accountability in the process of identifying and implementing offsets, and the involvement of local communities and stakeholders is crucial. Additionally, the success of biodiversity offsets can only be measured by continuously monitoring and evaluating their effectiveness in protecting biodiversity. With the right regulatory framework and implementation, biodiversity
The world we live in is rapidly changing, with growing threats to the environment and biological diversity. The loss of natural habitats, fragmentation of ecosystems, and climate change are some of the major challenges that our ecosystems are facing. To address these issues, ecological connectivity can play a critical role in linking landscapes for biodiversity conservation. Ecological connectivity, also known as a landscape connectivity, refers to the ability of different landscapes and ecosystems to interact and exchange ecological processes and functions. By creating ecological corridors, green bridges, and wildlife crossings, we can connect these fragmented landscapes and habitats, allowing species to move and migrate freely, and maintain their genetic diversity. Ecological connectivity also helps to restore ecological processes, such as nutrient cycling, water regulation, and pollination, which are essential for the overall health of ecosystems. This not only benefits wildlife, but also provides many ecosystem services, including clean air, water, and food, and supports human well-being. Therefore, connecting landscapes for biodiversity conservation is essential for the sustainable future of our planet. Ecological connectivity is essential to maintaining healthy ecosystems and promoting biodiversity conservation. When landscapes are fragmented, species are unable to move between habitats, which can lead to declines in population size and increased vulnerability to extinction. In fact, research has shown that habitat fragmentation is one of the most significant threats to biodiversity worldwide, with over 60 of global ecosystems currently affected. -60 However, ecological connectivity can be promoted through a variety of strategies, such as the creation of wildlife corridors and the restoration of degraded habitats. By connecting fragmented landscapes, species are able to access new habitats and resources, which can increase their chances of survival. Additionally, ecological connectivity can help promote gene flow between populations, which can increase genetic diversity and resilience. -25 One of the most effective strategies for promoting ecological connectivity is through the creation of green infrastructure. By incorporating natural features such as wetlands, forests, and streams into human-dominated landscapes, green infrastructure can help create a network of interconnected habitats that allow species to move freely across the landscape. This can not only benefit wildlife, but also provide a range of ecosystem services, such as improved water quality and climate regulation. -15 Despite the importance of ecological connectivity, many landscapes remain fragmented, which highlights the need for continued conservation efforts. This includes the protection of important habitats, the restoration of degraded ecosystems, and the promotion of green infrastructure. Ultimately, by promoting ecological connectivity and linking landscapes, we can help create healthier ecosystems and ensure the long-term survival of species worldwide. 20 In conclusion, ecological connectivity is essential for the conservation of biodiversity across landscapes. The interconnectedness of habitats enables species to move, maintain genetic diversity, and adapt to changing environmental conditions. It is crucial to consider ecological connectivity while planning land use, infrastructure projects, and conservation efforts to ensure that we create and maintain functional landscapes that support biodiversity. Conservation biologists are advocating for the protection of existing ecological corridors and the restoration of degraded corridors to mitigate biodiversity loss due to habitat fragmentation. From a socio-political perspective, policies and regulations that promote and enforce ecological connectivity should be developed and implemented at local, regional, and national levels. As individuals, we can also play our part in supporting ecological connectivity by promoting green infrastructure, reducing our carbon footprint, and conserving natural habitats in our communities. Ecological connectivity is a vital aspect of biodiversity conservation, and protecting it not only helps natural ecosystems but also promotes human well-being. By conserving ecological connectivity,
as the world grapples with climate change and biodiversity loss, Sacred Lands provides a glimmer of hope. For centuries, indigenous communities have maintained a deep connection with nature, viewing it as a living entity rather than a mere resource to exploit. Through spiritual practices, stories, and traditions, they have safeguarded landscapes and nurtured ecosystems, ensuring a balance between human needs and those of other species. This documentary explores the vital link between culture, spirituality, and biodiversity. We see how indigenous communities in different parts of the world relate to the natural world and the ways in which they have managed to protect it from destructive forces, whether it be oil drilling, mining, or logging. We hear from shamans, elders, and activists who share their wisdom and experiences, and from scientists who study the interplay between culture and ecology. The film also reveals the threats facing these sacred lands and the urgent need to protect them. Climate change, industrial development, and globalized markets pose grave risks to indigenous cultures and the environments they inhabit. By showcasing the resilience and ingenuity of these communities, we hope to inspire viewers to take action and support efforts to preserve and promote the connections between culture and biodiversity. The connection between culture, spirituality, and biodiversity is deeply rooted in the concept of sacred lands. These lands, often protected by indigenous communities, serve as a critical hub for conserving biodiversity and preserving traditional practices. In fact, studies have shown that indigenous lands protect around 80% of the planet's biodiversity, despite only covering 22% of its land surface. Biodiversity loss is a growing global concern, with species extinction rates accelerating at a dramatic pace. But, for indigenous cultures, biodiversity is vital to their spiritual and cultural beliefs. For example, many cultures believe that the natural environment is a manifestation of spiritual divinity. Thus, conserving the natural environment is a sacred duty. Sadly, the rights of indigenous peoples to manage and protect their lands are often ignored. According to the World Bank, only 10 of officially recognized indigenous lands are legally owned or controlled by indigenous people. As a result, commercial interests and destructive practices like logging, mining, and oil exploration continue to threaten the health of these sacred lands. However, some organizations are taking action. The International Union for Conservation of Nature is working to develop guidelines for the use of traditional knowledge in conservation. Indigenous lands are also gaining more recognition on a global scale, such as UNESCO's World Heritage Site designation. Ultimately, it is crucial to recognize the deep cultural and spiritual connections to biodiversity that exist in sacred lands. Protecting these lands not only preserves biodiversity but also ensures the conservation of critical cultural traditions. By working together with indigenous communities, we can help to ensure the long-term protection of these vital areas for generations to come.